gonna have to fix the orientation of this thing. It's funny how we are still in the retrograde times, aren't we not? Yes, we are. So let's see what we got here. There we are. Alrighty. I hope you can hear me all right. I had to turn the phone around. And maybe you could send me a thumbs up or something if you can hear me. Just so I know that, yeah, I guess the sound is working, because I'm sure somebody would say something if it wasn't. Okay, everybody. As the bell tolls, oh, thank you. Thank you, dear Ellie. Thank you, Serpent Visionary Oracle. So as these tingshas come together, feel yourself being called back into your body. There you are. Okay, Glenn Diller, good to see you. It's a bit low, okay. All right, everybody, let's do this. We're gonna bring ourselves home. So hold on for the tingshas. Take a few deep breaths. And there it is. So grateful you guys are here, LEK. And yes, it is in the here and the now, right? When we are present in the here and the now, it becomes so much easier to also be grateful, to also understand. And you know, some of us have been on the other side. Some of us have experienced what it's like to die, to come out of your body and then come back. And Glenn, you've been through that ringer, like most people never get to until we actually do go. But when we've been through almost losing our lives from this body, almost moving on, leaving, when we've been through that, it becomes so much easier to be grateful. Right, Serpent Visionary Oracle? It is a crazy experience. Car crashes, yeah. And once we have experienced that, at least in my experience, I get to be grateful. I get to understand, oh, it's not for granted that I'm here. There you go, LEK, yeah. And yes, you came back, and we all came back in different forms, right? We all came back changed in different ways. That's one of those things that happen when because having the experience of touching the void, touching the other side, is a lot like it's like having a spiritual experience, because we move on from this world and then we come back into this body, but we now come back with a new perspective. So we can see things from a new angle, almost like in a way, you've been elevated, so you can see life differently. We have a different vantage point. Then Glenn, it brings you on a greater understanding of what it actually means to be here. Yes. Right, Glenn? Yes, it's amazing. It's completely unbelievable what it's like once we have been visiting the other side and we come back to be embodied on a deep level. I think we understand. There's Joel 11. Nice to see you. Grateful for moments by losing a lot in this life. I see the wisdom I've gained. Yes, because we get everything gets peeled off. The layers get peeled off. And what seemed like it was so important, oh my God, my car needs a new tire, my car, or whatever it might be, whatever, my bicycle, whatever, my shoelace broke, whatever it may be, takes on a completely different importance once we have been out of our body and we realize, oh my God, being out of the body was different than I ever thought. And coming back is also different. And of course, not always great, not always a fun experience. But the gaining of perspective is one way of starting to understand gratitude. We start to understand gratitude. Trenton Shine, nice to see you. Sending love and light to you as well. So as we come into our experience and we come in again, right? We come back into our body. We now have a new perspective, and now we are understanding. There's a felt experience of gratitude. Once we start to come back home, when we walk this walk that we refer to as a spiritual walk, and we start to understand that gratitude is not about things. Gratitude is not about the car I drive, where I live, who I have around me. Gratitude is about that I get to take another breath into my body. And of course, it's beautiful when things fall into place, when we don't have to worry as much anymore. That's beautiful. But what it really comes down to is that we have life in our body. And there's a sense of, like a deep sense of gratitude in that. Cesar, bro, nice to see you, bro. Much love. Yes. And I, at least in my experience, and I know that for quite a few of you, you've had life-changing experience through touching the void or being around other people who have passed on. And I've both been that way myself. I've been very close to moving on many times, and then also seen people pass away that then came back into their body. And it's been very interesting to see all these experiences because, oh my God, it's very real. Like a long time ago, like what is that, 2006 or 7 or 8 or something. I was working up in Mammoth, and I was a bouncer. I was a door guy, a security guy, and I enjoyed that work a lot. But one day I was talking to this one guy. We were just talking, and he said, "Why does it hurt so much when you get punched in the chest?" And I didn't know why. I told him my experience, why it hurt so much, because I got punched and broke up a bunch of bones in my body, so that hurt. But then me and this guy, we stopped talking. I went downstairs, and a few minutes later, 10-15 minutes later, they call on me from upstairs. They're, "Marcus, come up. There's a guy who's dying up here." And I run up, and it's the guy that I had just talked to. And he, Don, he had fallen, like collapsed up on the dance floor upstairs. And I was thinking, first thought was, oh my God, there are no drugs here. Like, I just talked to him 10 minutes ago. How can he be gone already? And then his lips were turning blue. He didn't have a pulse. I tried to find a pulse. He didn't have a pulse. And I thought, well, if he did OD, we'll try and walk him so at least his body can get a chance to have the blood moving. So we took him and we started pulling him down the stairs, me and my other bouncer. And I told the main guy, I said, the general manager, I told him, "Jake, call the cops, tell him a guy is dead, tell him to come right away." So they come right away, and we have pulled Don down the stairs in between the doors at this place called Whiskey Creek up in Mammoth. It's not a Whiskey Creek anymore, but and he's laying there on the ground, and we're trying to do, like, we put him in that side position, and we pull the tongue out so he won't choke if he can, but he's not really breathing, right? His body has gone into gasping. And then the cops show up real quick, and they bring this automatic defibrillator, and they put that on his heart, and they try to start him up. And it takes about 40 minutes. This machine shocks him a bunch of times because his heart doesn't want to come back on like regular rhythm. So then but I saw him coming back into his body. And I saw the tears just streaming out of his face, and there was a big mask of pain when he re-entered his body. And it was just unbelievable experience. And my feeling was, my God, he doesn't want to be back. He didn't want to come back into his body. And then, he's airlifted out to Reno. They put a pacemaker in him, And he comes 6 months later. He comes to visit us at work, and he comes up and talks to me, and he's like, Marcus, I I got to tell you, when you guys carried me down the stairs, I saw you. I was floating in the roof, in the ceiling above you, and I saw you guys carrying my body down the steps in between the doors. And for me, it was, of course, a very strong moment of just hearing that, or just understanding, my God, there's so much more to our reality than we understand. There's so much more going on. And of course, now, this is what, 18 years later, 15 years later, I've gone through a lot since then. I've gone through a lot of spiritual awakening since then and gotten much deeper into this walk. But it still is a strong story of showing us that there's a lot of life on the other side. And there's Glenn. I was about to mention gratefulness. It totally brings a new perspective on what life actually is and means. Yes, right? Absolutely, Glenn. And sometimes we need to be hit over the head really hard in order to wake up, to be shook up enough. And luckily, we're lucky if we get to walk away from that, survive those incidents, and then have the learning with us. We become the learning, right? We become the teaching. And as we become the teaching, we start to feel into gratitude more. Like I know you, Glenn. Glenn lives across the street right here, and we've been friends for over 20 years, 23, 24 years. And he's gone through the ringer, for sure. And there's a beautiful experience to watch him walk around right here. He was in a coma for quite a while, and it was very serious stuff, very, very serious stuff. So, but today we were not actually going to discuss this that much. We got sidetracked here a little bit. What I would like to bring up, this is very controversial. I'm very aware of this. 24 plus years, that's right, Glenn. That's a long time. That's almost half our lifetime, isn't it? Yeah. So I was going to bring up today, this is a very controversial topic, and it is not meant to hurt anybody's feelings in person. This is not meant to be an accusation or make anybody wrong. But it's a controversial statement, and I am going to say it right now, so hold on. We don't need a shepherd. Almost like that song from Tina Turner, we don't need another hero. We don't need another shepherd. And I know that's a pretty tough saying, because I know that anybody who believes in the shepherd is going to have a hard time understanding the concept. But the way that this is coming through for me is that the structure that we're living in, which we refer to as the matrix, one of the things that has happened these last few months here on Healing with Marcus and the channel and through me, is this idea that we're stepping out of the matrix, that we are breaking free from the narrative of normal, regular society. And it's not to be rude or mean to anybody, but it is to find individual freedom for all of us, so that you and I get to stand in our sovereignty. We get to stand and ground ourselves through the root chakra, through our feet, ground ourselves into Earth Mother energy, realize we are sovereign being, that we have our integrity. As we learn to grow into our own inner power, our inner state, integrity grows, and we become stronger in that space. And as that happens, it's not that we're going to reject. I personally am not rejecting anything about the teacher of Jesus, right? The teaching and the teacher of Jesus. Amazing stuff. Unbelievable teacher on our planet. Unbelievable. So grateful that this human walked our planet and the teachings he brought to us. Unbelievable. But the idea that we need a shepherd to protect us, when we have all that power in our own system, when you are the power generator in your life, your body is creating all the energy, all the life force energy that you need to stay alive, and but when we are aligning our chakra system with that of the frequencies of Earth Mother, the frequencies of Father Sky, and the frequencies of our world, which also comes into love, right? When we come from love, when we are tapping into the frequency of love in our heart, that frequency is very powerful. And as that starts to resonate through our being, our body, we also start to resonate that out into the world. Once we're in that space, at some point, I hope and pray for you that you will see that you don't need a shepherd. We can all need healers. We can all go to healers. We can all go to people who can align us to help us find our way. But once we have found the way, we don't need anyone to be put on that pedestal to be above us in that way. We are human beings on this planet. We are born free. We are supposed to be free the whole way. There you go, Trent and Shine. We are our own shepherd or become our own shepherd. Yes, we do. That's the thing. That's the point, right? We become our own shepherd as we start to listen to intuition. Because every single one of us are gifted with the gift of intuition. We have intuition in speaking through us in our hearts. It speaks to us as feelings. It speaks to us through dreams, through signs, through feelings. Like, I feel like I want to do this. And it may sound strange, but once I do it, it's going to lead us in a new direction, and something else will pop out of that. And suddenly we'll see that whatever the intuition told us will end up in a very, very beautiful space. Nothing, nobody, no place outside of self. Absolute, exactly, Serpent Visionary Oracle. Exactly. And once we start to come back home, this is not about becoming too crazy in our rebelliousness, right? But it is about becoming empowered within the self to understand that we are not, I don't know what to call that. We're not spineless. We're not weak in our own system. We don't need protection the way we were told. Because the only thing that does, whether it be government that's trying to protect us, or religion trying to protect us, or medicine trying to protect us, whatever it may be, corporations trying to protect us, military trying to protect us, it's taking your power away from you, right? And often it is so that we will go along with whatever narrative we're being told. And on this from this perspective, that narrative is always there to disempower you and me, to make you feel like you don't have enough power. And if we imagine or envision that if you're watching the news daily, the narrative of the news is war, fear, new diseases, old diseases coming back, whatever it might be. That's the narrative that we're supposed to live with, right? And as long as we're living in that frequency, when you have fear in your body, if you're afraid, you can feel your sphincter tightening up. You can feel your body tightening up. There is no flow of love in that space. When we're sitting in that, because also what happens too, we get afraid, right? And then the news is telling us who we're supposed to be angry with. We're supposed to be angry with foreigners or illegal immigrants or legal immigrants or people from this country, people from that country, or people from that city, from this city, people who don't do the thing, people who do the thing, people who don't wear the things, people who wear the things. We're all supposed to be afraid and angry at some people, right? And what that does is it takes away our power. So when we're sitting in that anger and we're spewing and stewing, we are powerless. But you are giving off an energy of fear, dissatisfaction. That energy that comes off you is basically, so let's say you have 100% of life force energy in your system, and you go into a state of fear. And this is not that intense fear where you actually do something healthy with your fear. This is the fear that goes, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm so afraid. That fear, right? That diminishes. So we had 100% of life force energy in your body first. You go into fear, you have 50% life force energy left. And if you go into lower frequencies too, maybe more anger, or maybe addictions, or maybe you go into or sex behaviors that are not healthy for you, your energy keeps shrinking. Your life force energy that you have access to keeps shrinking. What happens to the rest of it? It's being sort of siphoned by other entities that are making a living from that. So, in that sense, when we are able to fully access our own life force energy and we can feel that flow coming through us, we are opening up the channels for a much deeper level of healing and also a much deeper level of love. And we also start to access deeper understandings, different forms of understanding in our system. So when I say we don't need another shepherd or we don't need a shepherd, it is for you to find your way back home, to find your inner power, find your strength. And it's imperative that that's what we're looking at. It's imperative that we begin to look into our own body, into our own lives, to look at our life path. What happened through my life? Oh, when I felt this way, that went wrong. And when I reacted to my triggers this way, that didn't work out that well. So I come back home all the time. I come back home to find my center. This is also, if we look at it from a little different perspective, if we are, prone to becoming angry, prone to jealousy, negativity, gossip, whatever it might be that we are prone to, if we're prone to that, it's easy to go into those behaviors when we are off center. And when you watch what the news is trying to do to us, it's always throwing us off center. And the more sensational, the better. The worst thing that happened, the better for the news, the more money they make, and the worse we feel. And that puts us more and more off center. And when we are off center, it's much easier to think and believe that we need help from an outside source. It's much easier to think that we need help from the government, from the pharmacy, or the big pharma, and all of those, that we need them to protect us from whatever evil might be looming out there. And the truth is that if you come back home and you start to eat healthier and live healthier, drink better water, eat better food, your immune system can handle almost everything, or at least a lot of things. And suddenly life shifts, right? And you don't need a shepherd. I don't need a shepherd. We can show love for the shepherd. We can show love for anybody. But since we are not sheep, here, that's why we don't need a shepherd, because we are not sheep. You are not a sheep. I'm not a sheep. We want to come in humility to the universe, to the world, but that doesn't mean we're sheep. We're not more or less than anybody else. So, hopefully, this did not hurt anybody's feelings in particular. This is not what it was meant to do. It was meant to wake us up to the fact that you have a ton of power in your body. You have life force energies flowing through you every moment of every day, all the time. A little cacao to that. All right, so we are going to go into the healing part of this session. And if you're new to these lives, we do about a 10-15 minute healing session here at the end of these talks every Monday. And it may be something for you, it may not be. It may speak to you on a deep level, and it may not. For the people who it speaks to, it's a beautiful experience. And if you feel like this did not work for me, more power to you. It's all good, right? But if this is something that speaks to you, then I would suggest that you take a few deep breaths, that we start bringing ourselves back home. We start to come back into our body. Because as we start growing these roots into Earth Mother, we also start to realize our own inner power. And when that inner power becomes more clear, a lot of other things become more clear too, such as integrity, such as self-worth, such as valuing yourself and your time. These are very important parts of our lives. So, if you have any of these, if you want to release anything today, let's envision that we are gathered, you and I, all of us here right now on this live, and whoever's watching it later. We are gathered around a sacred fire. We're sitting somewhere in the mountains. Some trees are surrounding us. We have a sacred fire in the center of us. We're sitting in a circle. This sacred fire is a little more energetic in nature. It's for sure looks like regular fire, but also blue, white, and purple. And the flames are very powerful. And they start to grow. So as we sit here, if you have anything you would like to release, I would like for you to let that go into that fire. If you're ready to release it. All right. And with your permission, we'll be working on your energy. Ma'ito wateya. Tawateo. Toa. Teo ahia. Taio. Taio. あいや。Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murataye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Dai. Toa Dea. Toa Dea. Welcome back into the room, everyone. Thank you for joining this healing session and this talk and this live. If this spoke to you, please click like and subscribe and possibly share if you feel like that's something you want to do. I'm trying to put out videos every week, quite a few right now. And I also have a book for anybody who wants to read a book called The Four Elements. We Are Earth Mother. You can find it on Amazon or on my website. And it's a beautiful observation of our relationship to Earth Mother and how we are made up of the same elements that are existing all around us. And that we are made up of the same elements that are all coming out of Earth Mother. Yes? So from that perspective, we are life on this planet. All right, beloved. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Ellie K. I'm so grateful for you, my dear. So grateful for all of you. Thank you, 11. Thank you, Serpent Visionary Oracle, Trenton Shine, Glenn Diller, and whoever else is on here today. Cesar Abreu and 11. Yes, I said 11. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Trenton Shine. Yes, a disclaimer is when you read my book, you got to remember I am Swedish originally. So there are a few places where the English could have been a little better, and hopefully I'll get around to doing a second edition somewhat soon. We'll see when that happens. All right, everybody. Much love. Namaste. And aho.